Bonsoir, Vista.
Comment allez-vous?
Thanks so much for letting us be a part of your evening tonight. I'm Brenna Graber.
And I'm Brad Graber. And as you may know, we are currently serving with Mennonite Mission Network in Paris, France.
We work with the 3 Mennonite churches here in the Paris region, and we serve as youth pastors for those churches, for their youth and young adults.
So we work with 3 youth groups and 2 different young adult groups.
Thanks so much for letting us participate this year by video. It was really fun to be live with you the last 2 years. But it's fun also this year to get a chance to have some questions from you and to have looked over those and now to be ready to tell you what you want to hear.
So we arrived in France in the end of January 2013. So now it's been 2 full years that we've been in France. So time has gone very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. It feels like just yesterday we were still in Florida. And just a couple hours ago that we were learning French.
We work with 5 groups. We work with 1 youth group from each church, and then we also work with 2 young adult groups. In each youth group there are about 12 to 15 kids, and our young adult groups are between 10 and 12 young adults. So we work with each of those groups individually. Here in France, youth groups often have their events on the weekends, so we have every weekend we have youth events, and we have weeknight events with the young adult groups. So that takes up a lot of our time, just working with those groups and all of the youth and young adults that are involved with those groups, preparing meetings, planning special events, and just relating to the youth and young adults on a one-on-one or small group level as well.
We also are very involved on Sunday morning with the church services. We often play music or sing on the worship teams. I play bass, guitar, or acoustic guitar, and Brenna will sing often. We also have each preached several times and done the worship leading.
Another part of our job that we really enjoy is planning different trips or exchanges for the youth. So last summer we were able to see some of you. We came to Florida with a group of French Mennonite and then just other Christian youth for a program through Mennonite Mission Network's Youth Venture Exchange. So we took a group of 10 French youth to Florida and connected them with Mennonite churches in Sarasota, but also in Miami and Fort Myers. And some of you helped us with that, so thank you very much.
And this summer, we will have the opportunity to lead a group of French high schoolers and young adults to go to Mennonite World Conference in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So that's something that we're really looking forward to. It'll happen in July. That will bring a group of somewhere between 7 and 10 French young adults, or students, I guess you could say, for a 3-week trip to the United States, which will be at the Mennonite World Conference, but then also maybe doing a little road trip to get to Ohio and Indiana.
For us, it's kind of tricky to describe a normal work day or a normal work week because our job is so varied. It changes from week to week, but there are some things that are consistent. So I thought that we could maybe just describe our last week to you to give an idea of what fills our time. Last Sunday, I did the worship leading at the church service. This week we've also had 1 young adult group. We had a meeting with a pastor. We visited...
We had 2 young adult groups.
2 young adult groups.
Which are like Bible studies. We had a young adult who was staying at our house for 2 nights because he had some college test that was in our town. And he lives kind of far away, so he stayed with us for 2 nights.
And then also this weekend we'll have youth group and a baptism formation. So those are the major events that happen during the week. And then when we're not attending an event or meeting, we often have lunches with youth and young adults or things like that. Then we're working from home. We work here together from home. We have an office upstairs, so that helps. And we are doing emails or planning for events or planning for future trips.
Or Bible studies, planning for Bible studies and things like that. Like we said earlier, we've been here for 2 years now, which which means that we speak French a lot better than we did 2 years ago. That's for sure. When we showed up, Brenna didn't speak French at all, and my French was it was okay, but it wasn't great. So 2 years later, if we compare ourselves to 2 years later, our French is 1,000 times better. We go to French movies, we watch French television.
All of our work is in French.
All of our work is in French when it comes to working with the youth and the churches and those kind of things. So we feel very comfortable in French, but we still do get caught every once in a while where, wait, what's that word? You kind of have to think there on your feet for 5 or 10 seconds to try to find a synonym to a word or something to make it work. So I would say that we're both very, very comfortable, but the truth is also the more you learn, the more you realize you have a lot to learn. The weather here in France has been
interesting?
Sure, I mean, it's for those of you who come from the north or who have lived up north, we have nothing to complain about for winter because it actually doesn't get that cold here in Paris. I would say an average temperature for December through March is high of 35 to 40 and low around 33, 32. In the summertime, France does not get very warm. So even though it doesn't get very cold in the winter, it doesn't get very warm in the summer, whereas an average temperature in the summer is somewhere between 65, 75. So that was a little bit hard for us to not have a really nice warm summer. But it's just something that is a reality because France is really, really far north, so it doesn't get that hot. It's actually as far north as northern Michigan, Paris is. But because it's surrounded by the ocean on 3 sides, it doesn't actually get that cold either. This is a fairly hard question.
You guys didn't make it easy on us.
And it's an impossible question to answer totally, right? But we can try to explain a little bit some of the differences between France and the United States when it comes to religion and spirituality. Would be that here in France, it's definitely a lot more secular society, where there are a lot less self-proclaimed practicing Christians. It still is historically a Catholic country where you'd have a lot of people who would say, yes, I'm Catholic, but non-practicing. But for the amount of people who would attend church or be a practicing Christian, it would be a very small minority. And so that changes the culture of Christianity a lot. Whereas in the United States, this was something that was also highlighted for us when we had the French youth in the United States this past summer, and they kept talking about how many churches there were, and there's churches on every corner, and how people were talking a lot about youth group and church and those kind of things. Whereas for the Christians here, especially the Protestant evangelical Christians, which the Mennonite church would be considered, that for them and for those youth, they definitely feel like a minority, where at school they don't have a lot of other Christian friends, and they maybe don't talk a lot about some of their church things because they know other people won't understand it, whereas in the United States, it might be more normal to invite someone to youth group because that person already understands what youth group is, whereas maybe in France, it almost is like there isn't that base of knowing what is church, what is youth group, who is this Jesus person. Another thing about the history of France and religion is one of the reasons why today there would be maybe a lot less Christians, is that French people would say it's because of all of the religious wars and because of maybe some of the problems within the church, within the Catholic Church, and things that maybe put a bad taste in the mouth of the French people when they think about religion and things. But it's exciting to be a part of the minority group, though, also because that means the people who choose to come to church and the people who are there are people who are choosing already to go against the grain and who are really going against the current.
One of the things that has been the most impacting has just been the experience of being an outsider, being an immigrant in another culture. For me, it took moving here and just being an outsider in the sense of coming from another place, coming from another culture. People don't know you, they don't know your family. And so just learning what that means and how that feels. And then seeing how people have welcomed us and accepted us, and also learning from that, learning how much it means when someone welcomes you when you feel alone or like an outsider. It's been a challenge, but it's also been a really great learning experience for us.
Just to know how much work, how much effort, how much time goes into learning a new language, and that it's not as simple as, hey, why don't you just learn, it's easy. You should do it because it's important, because it really takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And I think until you go through it yourself and have to go through the embarrassing experiences as an adult, it's hard to learn a language because you don't want to get embarrassed and kind of make a fool of yourself when you go to the store and you say the wrong word. So I think that'll make us a lot more sensitive to other people when we live in places where there are other immigrants, people coming from other cultures and countries.
Something else that has really impacted us has been the diversity in our churches and just our communities here. It's really been exciting to be a part of groups that represent so many different cultures and countries. We have a lot of people in our churches from different countries in Africa and different islands in the Caribbean. So it's been really an exciting opportunity to work with people from all over the world. And then a final thing that's shaped us has been the food culture, and not just because we love baguettes and chocolate croissants, but just even the time that French people take to eat is very different than our experiences in the States. And certainly we will have long meals in the States too, but here you'll have dinners that will last for hours, and there's something really important to them about taking the time to eat a good meal and also just sit and talk and enjoy time with family and friends. And so I think that's something that's shaped us too in how we eat and do that.
And something that my mom would notice is that the television is not on during a meal. It's just talking.
Eat a lot more bread in the States. We didn't eat very much bread, and here we eat a lot of baguettes, just like the stereotype. We go every couple of days to the boulangerie. So we eat a lot of bread, we eat a lot more cheese here. I think that I read somewhere that in France there are 450 different kinds of cheese. So we don't eat nearly that many, but we do eat a lot more and a lot
soft cheeses.
A lot of different kinds of cheeses than we did back home. So those are two things.
One of my favorite foods is duck. They make a really good duck here in France.
Duck is a really common meat. Something that Brad likes that I don't like is foie gras, which is duck liver. And no, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
yes, duck liver.
Or goose.
Duck or goose liver. And that's something that's a French delicacy here, and will be served it if we go to people's houses for special meals. Like for holidays, and so it's something you have to smile and accept and eat because it's very special. But it's something that Brad likes that I haven't quite been able to.
I'm not that picky with my food, but there's a lot of things that you can't find here, and that's interesting.
It's been harder to know how to cook without some things like cream of mushroom soup you can't find here. It's really hard to find black beans here, which is something we cooked a lot with in the States.
That's a good question. We have finished 2 out of the 3 years of our term. This is a 3-year term. We haven't made a decision yet, although it is starting to get to the time we have to start thinking about that with the churches here and with the mission agency to reflect on the future. But we're praying about it, and we could ask you to pray with us. It can be pretty hard. It can be pretty hard to get away from such a cool younger brother.
It's horrible.
But it's also hard being away from other friends and family also.
Which leads us to our next question. I think the hardest thing certainly about being in another country is missing friends and family back home. It's something that we haven't gotten used to, and I think it's just normal. I think as long as we're away, we'll always miss people back home. We want to thank you again so much for giving us the opportunity to participate this evening through this video. Thank you for your questions. They were great. They helped us to reflect on some things we haven't thought about for a while. We want to send a special thanks, as always, to our ministry support team, our MST, Denny, Nancy, Mike and Betsy,
Mitch and Nori.
Yeah, so thanks so much for being our connection with our home church, Bay Vista. And thanks for all you do. Thanks to you, the church, for your support. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your letters and your emails. They mean so much to us. So thank you. Thank you so much. We can't say it enough.
And maybe we could finish with just a couple prayer requests that you could pray for us as we are renewing our visas next week. So pray that all goes well and that we will be accepted with our visa application so we can stay for this next year. Pray for our ministry here with the youth. It's not always easy working in 3 different churches.
Pray for the youth in general. It's not easy to be a youth anywhere, I think, in the world. There are lots of challenges. And it's especially hard in a country, where you're
the minority as a Christian.
You're the minority as a Christian, exactly. So you can pray for them. Thanks again. Que Dieu vous bénisse et
à la prochaine.
À la prochaine. Until next time.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.